County Board of County Commission meeting. It's approximately 9:30. I want to take a moment and recognize at least one elected official that's joined us today, Mr. Mark Caruso from the City of Winter Springs City Council. Thank you for being here today, sir. If there's any other elected officials that I've overlooked, my eyesight's usually pretty good, but we appreciate you being here. Commissioner Lockhart also has someone she would like to recognize.
I would. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. This morning we have Tyler Winnick here. He is here. I want to recognize him for two things. One is he is going to be my appointee to the Historical Commission on this afternoon's agenda, and so I wanted you all to get a chance to meet him wave. He is also an employee of Osceola County, and we love, yes, right? So resident of Seminole, employee of Osceola, lots of goodwill. Welcome. So glad to have you here, and glad to have you join the team.
Fantastic. I would ask that each and every one of you take a moment, silence your cell phones, any other electronic devices you may have. We are going to have the invocation, which will be presented by Ms. Jocelyn Williamson. Then Ms. Kate Latour, the county attorney, will lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Good morning, Chairman Zimbauer, commissioners, staff, and neighbors. As summer wraps us in its warmth and long days, we gather with purpose and hope for what is possible. Summer invites us to take stock, to nurture what's working, tend to what needs care, and keep reaching toward the future we want to build together. Let us take a moment to reflect on the heart of public service. Thomas Jefferson once wrote, "The care of human life and happiness is the only and first object of good government." May those words ground us as we consider the needs of our neighbors, not just today, but in the seasons to come. May we bring empathy to our debates, clarity to our decisions, and humility to our leadership. Let us speak well, speak thoughtfully, and work towards solutions that reflect our shared commitment to Seminole County's well-being. With gratitude for this responsibility and for the opportunity to lead together, let us begin today's work with clear eyes, steady hands, and an open mind. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson. We appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Latour. We're getting ready to go to our proclamations. Before we do that, if there's anyone here that wishes to speak on any of the consent agenda items, please grab a form in the lobby, fill it out for the item that you desire to speak upon, make sure you number it, and hand it to Melanie right up front here with her hand up. That way we know that you want to speak on one of the consent agenda items. Right now, we're going to go to resolution number 1. This is recognizing Richard Sweat for his exceptional service on the Career Source Central Florida Board. This will be read by Commissioner Constantine. Commissioner?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Zimbauer, and it is my pleasure and honor to move this resolution of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners in recognizing Richard Sweat for his exceptional service on the Career Source Central Florida Board. Whereas Richard Sweat has served with distinction on the Career Source Central Florida Board of Directors for more than 14 years, demonstrating unwavering dedication to advancing workforce opportunities and economic prosperity in Seminole County and our region. And whereas Richard Sweat was called upon in 2011 to serve on the board of directors during a time of tremendous transition for Workforce Central Florida, now known as Career Source Central Florida. And whereas Richard Sweat contributed to the transformation of the organization by serving in progressive leadership roles, including Career Sources committees, the Governance Committee, Executive Committee Chair, and as Board Chair in 2023. And whereas Richard Sweat, as Board Chair for the last 2 years, has brought invaluable leadership and strategic insight, helping to guide programs and policies that connect job seekers to meaningful employment and meet the evolving needs of our local businesses and employees. And whereas Richard Sweat has consistently championed workforce initiatives that ensure that all individuals, regardless of background, have access to training, education, and career pathways, and whereas Richard Sweat has been a collaborative force on the board, fostering partnerships across industry sectors, educational institutions, and community organizations to build stronger, more resilient workforce. And whereas Richard Sweat has shown exceptional commitment, often going beyond and above the role to support the board's mission through mentorship, advocacy, service, including being the champion of Seminole County residents and businesses. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby recognize and commend Richard Sweat for his outstanding contributions, enduring impact, and steadfast dedication to Career Source Central Florida and workforce development efforts in Seminole County and throughout our region.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Sweat. Thank you for your service. We will invite you down for a photo opportunity here as soon as we get through number 3. Next is number 2, resolution recognizing 3 Seminole County softball teams that participated in the Florida High School State Softball Championship. This will be read by Commissioner DeLaury. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's truly an honor to read this resolution into the record and to recognize these fine young ladies. I would like to ask each one of the ladies here that were part of the team, would you stand while I read this, please? Thank you, ladies. Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing local Florida High School State Athletic Association softball teams. Whereas Seminole County, in partnership with the Greater Orlando Sports Commission, proudly host the Florida High School Athletic Association State Softball Championship for the first time on May 20th to 24th, 2025 at Boomba, Soldiers Creek. And whereas the FHSAA State Softball Championship brought together 32 of the top girls fast-pitch softball teams across Florida, each competing in their representative classification in the prestigious state title. And whereas Seminole County was represented by 3 outstanding local teams in the 2025 FHSAA State Championship softball, Geneva High School, Winter Springs High School, Haggerty High School. And whereas Geneva High School softball team finished the season with an impressive 22-4 overall record, division champions, regional champions, and finished as a state runner-up in Class 1A state championship. And whereas Haggerty High School softball team finished the season with an impressive 24-7 overall record, division champions, regional champions, and finished the state as runner-up in the Class 7A state championship. And whereas Winter Springs High School softball team finished with an impressive 24-8 overall record, division champions, regional champions, and finished as a state champions in the Class 5A state championship. And whereas the student athletes and coaches of the Geneva High School, Haggerty High School, and Winter Springs High School demonstrated exceptional skills, unwavering dedication, teamwork throughout the season, earning the admiration of their peers and the entire Seminole County community. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners do hereby recognize and congratulate the athletes and the coaches of the Geneva High School, Haggerty High School, Winter Springs High School for their outstanding performance in the 2025 Florida High School Athletic Association State Softball Championship and commend them for bringing the pride and honor to Seminole County, adopted this 22nd day of July of 2025.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, carries unanimous. Congratulations, ladies.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I would like to commend and congratulate Jason at Go Sports. Jason, your team has done a phenomenal job. I know you're here somewhere.
Mr. Jason Siegel's here.
Thank you, Jason. And Jordan, with your team, some of you may not realize, was out there on the field at literally 10 o'clock at night prepping the fields. And I'm sure that he was recognized internally for that as well. And I also want to thank Mike Baker and his team. People may not realize the amount of rain we had that day or that weekend, and they had to do an extraordinary amount of work to get those fields ready for the final game. And I can tell you, many people standing around like, there's no way that's going to happen. And Mike and his team truly pulled it through. And Rick, would you please congratulate them? Did a phenomenal job. But more importantly, the ladies, wow, what games, what sportsmanship. Phenomenal. Congratulations.
Good
Thank you,
stuff.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And we'll get you all for a photo op here in just a few more moments. Number 3 is our Presentation Library of the Year Award, Mr. Rick Durr. Mr. Durr?
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Rick Durr, Parks and Recreation, whatever I am, Director, whatever hat I'm wearing this morning. I wanted to be able to congratulate both of our staff as well as Board of County Commissioners on 2 major awards that our library has won this year at the Florida Library Association State Conference. The first one being that we were recognized for Florida's Innovative Programmer Service Award with our Great Seminole County Adventure, a partnership with local museums that sent participants of all ages around the county on an amazing race-style scavenger hunt and successfully piqued their interest in local history. This program prompted hundreds of library visits to local museums and, of course, sent all participants back to the library for their completion badges. This program is a great example of our wonderful community partnerships that we have throughout the community and throughout Seminole County to promote lifelong learning. But secondly, every year the Florida Library Association honors one library with the Outstanding Library of the Year Award. Over the years, the recipients have been large showcase library systems like Miami-Dade, Broward, and Orange County Public Library, to name a few. This year, we are pleased to announce for the first time that the Seminole County Library was chosen for this prestigious award for 2025 by the Florida Library Association and our library peers, beating out a field of more than 800 public, academic, and school libraries to win the award. Recipients of this award are recognized for excellence in overall library service, for library use by the public, library card registrations, direct customer service, and for the staff's hard work and creativity. We thank the Florida Library Association for this prestigious recognition, the Board of County Commissioners for the continued leadership in this area, and finally, congratulations to our library staff for their unwavering contributions to our community.
Good work. All right, we'll take a few moments and get some photos. I also want to not only recognize Jason Siegel for the Greater Orlando Sports Commission for being here. Thank you, sir, for being here and supporting our women's group that are here today. Also, Mr. Frank Martz from the City of Altamont Springs, County City Manager, is in the back of the room. Welcome, sir. If I've missed anybody else, my apologies. Let's start with Mr. Sweat, if you want to come on down and we'll get some photos going. As we're waiting for the chambers to clear, as you can see with the resolutions and presentations we just had, we've got a lot to be happy about in Seminole County. A lot to be happy with. Not only our children in sports, but our library systems, and also those people in our community who are willing to give their unselfish time to help support the cause of the citizens of the county. Great work by Rick Durr and the library system. Unsung heroes often, the library system, so we sincerely appreciate that. Next up, we're going to go to our county investment advisor, Mr. Scott McIntyre, who's with us today. Mr. McIntyre, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
One.
It's always a challenge with my eyesight as to whether I try to see that or,
It's called age.
yeah, tell me about it.
I have 3 pairs if you need a pair.
It's got them scattered throughout my house and my car.
What, 200s, 250s, 300s?
Okay, well, events driving the market, this is similar to what it's been. New tariffs will probably go into effect on August the 1st. I'm not entirely confident about that because history has taught us not to be. Inflation is trending higher, not nearly as much as what people thought that it would be whenever Liberation Day was announced. Job growth has slowed, but not to the extent expected. There are still jobs that are being created, enough certainly to absorb the number of new entrants into the labor market. And GDP appeared to bounce back in the second quarter. So the third quarter is to be determined. I think that slowdown that everyone has expected, it keeps getting pushed out. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just getting pushed out. The Fed is on hold for now. There's been a lot of pressure to fire the Fed chairman. And in my opinion, that's a really bad idea because he's been a very calming presence for the financial markets. But my guess is that he is either, as he's investigated, which probably is inevitable, I think that he may wind up resigning, and certainly the person who will come in to stand where Powell has been as chairman will probably be more inclined to cut rates going forward. That's been a theme for a while. But I do know that drumbeat continues to intensify. The outlook, thus, is far from clear. Looking at the Bloomberg survey on the next page, I'd like to share this with you guys. I don't expect that the audience is going to be able to see this. There's a lot of numbers here. The thing that I want to point out is that these 83 economists, yet again, expect that there's slowdown ahead, so less than 1% GDP growth expected for the third quarter. Again, that remains to be seen. Consumers continue to spend. I'm not sure where that spending capacity is coming from for at least half of America. It doesn't seem to be there. Debt is very high. But nevertheless, spending continues. These economists expect the Fed will cut twice this year. That's the same thing as the Fed is telling us. They'll cut twice this year. First is likely to be in September. There is some thought now, very, very divided in economists. Some believe that the Fed will be on hold till December. There are some who feel like the Fed's already behind the curve and needs to cut as much as 50 this September. Last September, they felt like they were behind. They wound up cutting 50 basis points. So there certainly is a precedent for that. The expectation is that yields are going to generally trend lower. The next, a little bit easier to see, this is the 2-year Treasury note yield. It's been all over the place. It was briefly, very briefly, at a level that I thought was very conducive to, if cash flow allowed, to be able to purchase a little bit more out into 2028. 2 days after the meeting, yields had fallen by about 18 basis points very, very quickly. And we've talked about the idea of if there is that big a market movement, we do a bit of a pivot. The pivot was to actually, instead of making that purchase out to 2028, we pulled that purchase in and made it at a much higher yield into May of 2026. Current investment choices, you know the drill here as well. We try to scratch through the previous meeting so you can kind of see the trend of where things are going. The 2-year right now, last time I looked, was at 385. The 3-year is at about 380. Kind of keep those in mind when you think about where your portfolio is now. So upcoming maturities. Just have one remaining for this month. and there are actually some in August that I should have put here, a fair amount coming up. But the recent transactions, this is not me copying down, it just happened to be 11.1 in both cases, but term pools, we went out 12 months, we went out 9 months, roughly 430 in that case. And I'm gonna skip ahead here before we come back to asking to basically not do anything this time. And if we look over at the portfolio statistics to the right, so average maturity 401 days, so still a very long portfolio in terms of duration relative to where the county has been. That was intentional. Most of that was done in December and January when your monies were coming in. Pushed it out as far as we could to assure that you would have earnings for 2027 and 2028. Overall portfolio yield is just under 440. Again, compare that to the 2-year and the 3-year, so doing well. I think it's important to look at the breakdown between fixed and floating. So your floating rate, which is overnight, which is liquidity, is at 12%. You had some payments during the month, and that briefly got down to about 11%. That's about as tight as we want it to get. We're going to wait for maturities before we make further decisions. I talk quite a bit with the folks at the clerk's office. We talk about the cash flows. We talk about having ample liquidity. So there's a lot of things that go on beyond this presentation. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
And Chairman, if you could sort of help me out.
Any questions for Mr. McIntyre on the investment strategy?
No, Chairman.
Commissioner Herr.
I'd be happy to make a motion to implement the recommendations of our financial advisor based on the report submitted today and recommend that the clerk implement said recommendations.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? I just want to say, before we call the vote, that thank you. We obviously, the board made, with your advice, very diligent decision-making a couple months ago on going that longer term at the interest rates that we now have it locked in as compared to what we would do today. So thank you for your efforts and your focus on making sure we're doing the right things and giving us that information to make those decisions. So with that said, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign, carries unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you all very much.
All right, we are going to move to our consent agenda, and I will ask the county attorney, Ms. Kate Latour, to read the rules of engagement for the public on the consent agenda. Again, if you are going to speak on any consent agenda item, please grab a form in the lobby, fill it out right away, get it down here to Ms. Melanie, if you'll raise your hand, Melanie, to her so she can call you when the time is right. Ms. Latour.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. Florida law provides that members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on propositions before the Board of County Commissioners, except when the board is acting on emergency or ministerial matters or conducting a meeting exempt from the requirements of the Sunshine Law. Individuals shall be permitted 3 minutes each for public comment or 6 minutes when the individual is an official representative of a formal association or group. The chairman may modify the maximum time for public comment at his sole discretion when appropriate. Public comments on quasi-judicial or other public hearing items will occur during the board's consideration of those items this afternoon. Public comments on pending procurement matters or on non-agenda items shall not be permitted at this time. Members of the public desiring to make public comment must fill out a speaker form and present the form to staff. Forms are available in the lobby. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Latour. We'll go to the county manager. We've got the constitutional officer consent agenda item number 5 and managers agenda 6 through 41s. Are there any revisions, deletions, or additions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Good morning. Yes, just one item that I'd like to pull is item number 35. We're just updating that agreement, and I'll bring that back at the next meeting.
Okay, so you're pulling item 35?
Correct.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, do we have any commissioner that desires to pull any consent agenda item? Commissioner Lockhart, then we'll go to Commissioner Delary.
I'd like to pull 13 for discussion.
13 for Lockhart. Commissioner Delary.
Item number 6, please.
Number 6 for Commissioner Delary. Anyone else? Seeing none. Okay. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on any of the consent agenda items?
Yes, sir, we have both written and verbal with Kat Moore, and I'll pass the written to you, and she
Which item?
requested to speak on item number 29.
Item 29, Ms. Moore, if you'd like to come down and speak on item 29. And you say you have written comment on item 29? If I would ask Commissioner Lockhart to read that as soon as Ms. Moore is completed. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Manager. I came here this morning.
We'll need your full name and address just for the record, if you would.
Okay, I knew I had written it down.
Yeah.
My name is Kathy Moore. My address is 927 East First, Longwood. And as I say, I'm here to speak on item 29, which is regarding the rate resolution.
Proceed.
Okay, thank you. I came here to speak in opposition of approving the resolution because the information that is provided in the agenda item is insufficient for the board and the public to be able to determine if the rates were actually calculated according to the resolution statements and ordinances. And because the background information regarding the 41.6% increase in street lighting assessment revenue, which equates to $1 million, does not address the true reason and the extent of the increases that now burden the property owners. The true reason is the county's failure to properly manage the funds and to appropriately set rates every year that are sufficient to cover expenses. And these are factors that are part of the statements in the resolution as well as the ordinances. I have also provided highlights today in writing. In preparing for this time this morning, I thought about my prior attempts to bring light to the poor management to the county's attention, but it seemed to fall on deaf ears. Then I thought about some advice I heard long ago. If you ignore someone long enough, they'll go away. It is still my hope that the board and the clerk of the court will do right by the property owners, and that the property owners that pay these assessments, and thereby mandate an audit of the Resource Management Department activities and decisions associated with assessment-funded services, particularly the street lighting funds. As the board is aware, I am a former county employee. I served for 18 years as the manager of the MSBU program. Never during the history of my tenure did such rate increases occur. I have provided clear information. I have gone above and beyond to provide suggestions and insights that would improve the management of funds. And I hope still that that information will be taken in consideration as it comes from an intelligent, knowledgeable, experienced source. I do regret that the board has not listened and responded to what I've submitted in the past, but like I say, I'm still hopeful for a better outcome.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Ms. Lockhart, if I'm understanding, there's just some additional things that are written.
The written comments from Ms. Moore outline what she said, and then there are also some handwritten notes that you may want to review. But
Okay.
it would be duplicative.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yes.
I could address that. And the staff has been in communication with Ms. Moore on this, and I can actually have Ms. Bailey Brown come up and brief the board if you would like, or we can do it individually.
Why don't we go ahead and do that at this point?
Yeah.
Because quite frankly,
You want to do the motion?
I have seen every email that has come across.
Right.
I've reviewed and read every email that's come across. I've spoke to staff. I've investigated the statements that have been made in those emails, and I had no problem making a decision today based on the information I received from staff. So, Ms. Moore? I mean, Ms. Brown.
Ms. Lord, Ms.
Sorry.
Brown.
Thank you, Resource Management Director. I thank you, and I thank Ms. Moore for her comments. We've been in communication with her, and unfortunately, we are increasing the rates across the board. We took this very seriously. Staff looked long and diligently at the minimum amounts to increase in light of LED conversions and moving target, if you will. We've also had these rate increases reviewed by the Office of Management and Budget to concur, and we take her advice, and we have responded with all of her information requests, and it is time for an increase. In 2023, we had the largest increase in our utility bills that we've seen yet in over 18 years at 11.5%, and this is an answer to that. We've worked with the communities in understanding the increases, and many of them are expecting them, or were happy that their rates had stayed so low for so long. It wasn't a big surprise. That's all I have to say.
So is it fair to say that this is being driven by the cost of the new LED fixtures provided by the power company and the power bills associated with those lamps? Is that correct?
In some cases, it's the LED conversions. In some cases, it's not. It is aged equipment, and we are working feverishly with communities to look at options for converting old equipment to newer, lower-cost equipment.
And MSBU, for the benefit of the public, if you'll explain how that occurs and what MSBU really is.
Sure. When a community would like a service provided, they approach the MSBU program, they request the cost, and there's a vote that occurs within the district asking for us to help them tax themselves to provide the services.
So in essence, the citizens come to the county, ask for the county to help sponsor that project for their benefit, and they're asking us to do that.
That's
so we're just basically handling the cost of that from the power company on the streetlight scenario, and passing that on, prop share, to the residents who ask us to do that. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to make sure. Commissioner Lockhart, you had something?
I just wanted to clarify what a street lighting MSP was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone? Commissioner Herr.
I think for the record, it's important to get out that, as I look at the supporting documentation that Ms. Moore brought to the table, that the information that is in her supporting document was brought to us in our briefings at an extreme level of detail. So those spreadsheets, actually, I recognize some of the numbers on here from memory, which is unusual for me. But the level of detail that went into the briefings to get us to this point where it's in the board book in a condensed fashion, it was shared. So, and I would also say that there was full acknowledgement that we should be doing this every year and not doing it
in catch-up.
In catch-up. That's, I was trying to find a better word. But, so the humility with which it was presented was just displayed right there, that this should not be happening this way. There's accuracy in that statement, and that we are engaged at a level of detail, and there's acknowledgement and changes happening.
Commissioner Constantine.
I also wanted to add that they also scrubbed the numbers because the original numbers were higher than they are now. So they went back, really worked the numbers very closely, and there's even some that have been reduced, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that needs to be put on the record also.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We appreciate it very much. Ms. Kuntz, any further?
No, sir.
No other comments? I will close public comment on those items, and I will go to Commissioner Lockhart. Well, I'll go for a motion. We'll bring the other two up.
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we approve Constitutional Officers Consent Agenda number 5 and the County Manager's Consent Agendas 6 through 41, with the exception of 6, 13, and 35.
Second.
Okay, we've already pulled 6.
He just reiterated it, that's all.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Those are the 3 that people wanted.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, carries unanimous. We'll go to, for an order, item number 6, Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to commend not just the board, but the staff for doing something that I believe, as we all discussed, is taking fiscal responsibility of our transit systems. I think the board's been very active and progressive in doing that. The reason why I asked this pulled, because when I had my briefings with staff a couple times, I've asked for data and analysis of how we come up with the name and what does that do for the marketing, and they said that we'll have a work session on it. I have not seen a work session. And then I asked for the marketing analysis of it, and they said they have it, and I still haven't seen it, and I'm hoping that we'll see it with a work session before we approve a name so that we can understand why we're calling it Scout, because I've not heard from anybody. I've just heard from the county manager, Christian, as well as Chris Patton, and they said we'll have a work session and that we've done the analysis, and I'm waiting to see it.
I would just say I would like to thank Commissioner Lockhart for her leadership in the microtransit and helping shepherd this through as you have. Bravo, because this was something I was very adamant about when I arrived. I couldn't move the needle, so you definitely got the needle moved for us. So
Mr. Chairman, no misunderstanding. I'm okay with the microtransit
Sure.
aspect of it. I'm just concerned about the name and the marketing of it, and I've been told we're going to have a work session about it, and there's data, and every time I ask, it's coming, and now we're approving it, and I haven't seen the data yet.
Chairman?
Commissioner Herr?
I personally have no interest in doing a work session on a marketing plan. Marketing plans made by committee typically come out worse than those that would be done by experts, and I think we have in-house experts. We spend good taxpayer money on hiring them. I think we're under a time crunch to get this thing out and launched. They can't wrap the vehicles until we move forward on this, and quite honestly, I'm quite happy with the first iteration. So perhaps it's related to you knowing that there wasn't 5 votes to have a work session, not that you need votes for a work session, but maybe that's it. I don't know what's happening here, but I just thought I would own my part in this. My comment was, it looks fabulous and we need to move forward.
I don't disagree with Commissioner Herr's version. I think this, in light of what our agreement is on the microtransit, with the ability to adjust and the flexible terms, if something does not function or work, or we find a better mousetrap, we're able to engage them and change that in a reasonable time. So if there's any data, I guess, that Commissioner Delary would find valuable, I would just ask staff to try to get that to him. I'm happy and satisfied with what I've been given thus far. I think we all have to understand this is a new venture. I think we've all said there's going to be some hiccups, there's going to be some speed bumps, and we'll deal with those when they happen, and we'll roll it out as seamlessly as we possibly can, but we'll deal with it accordingly. Commissioner Lockhart?
I'll just say, while I have helped to shepherd this is a team effort. This is a team sport. I appreciate so much the recognition. It's been fun, quite honestly, to talk about doing something so drastically different. I personally do not have a stake in the game when it comes to the name or the marketing. I'm more concerned about how it rolls out to the community and the service that it actually provides. When staff came to me, as I'm sure they did all of you, they shared the time crunch that they were under, and that if we want this to start rolling in October, they needed to start ordering vehicles, and in order to order and wrap vehicles, they needed to start with a name, and said, do you have a problem with this name? This is what we think is best. And I said, I think that's great. I'm not going to get in the weeds of from my perspective, the 5 of us trying to come up with something creative. I'm not a creative person. My only request was, let's use our county colors, blue and green, and they did an excellent job of that. So from my perspective, I think a work session will be appropriate when we get to the place where we're educating ourselves and the public at the same time of how this is going to operate. But I have no interest in changing or voting on a name.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Constantine?
For the sake of not making this as long as a work session would have, I will just simply say that I think the real discussion, and this is maybe where the misunderstanding came from, the real discussion was the rates and the cost of the rates. And that was what I thought we were going to have a more thorough explanation of as we got to what we had to do with the federal government, state government, the grants, the loans, the debt, whatever it was. And that we were going to discuss, children's rates and how we would allow them, seniors' rates and all that. So I think that's where it might have been the mix-up. I never thought we were going to do, they gave me a thorough explanation of the blue and green and the Scout and this and that, and, I'm satisfied with that. I will tell you, in my travels with the National Association of Counties, a lot of cities and counties are doing this now. We can learn a lot from their experiments, and I've talked to Christian about that so that we can avoid the pitfalls. And just close to us, in the Keys, Monroe County is changing theirs after a year tremendously to avoid the pitfalls. And so I'm not sitting here saying, oh, we've got to go through that. I'm sitting here saying the staff needs to look at that so we might be able to learn some more things. And so, yeah.
All right, then I will.
Could I say one
Yes.
thing? As you know, when the board approved to go with the microtransit and we chose the vendor to do that, we put out a timeline of what needed to happen. You have 2 work sessions coming to this board next month. The first meeting of August, Freebie is coming to give a presentation. We'll have a work session with that. The second meeting in August is where you will discuss, as Commissioner Constantine referred to, the fares that we'll be charging. And all this is for the implementation to start October 1. And so simply what the Scout was the name of a microtransit. Again, we needed to, and we've worked with our marketing company with Freebie, and so we needed to get the ball rolling. If we want this implemented by October 1, that is the reason. So it was just the name.
And again, Mr. Chairman, I understand the timeline, and I understand not getting into the weeds. Wasn't my issue. My issue was I didn't understand the word Scout. And because every time I ever looked at microtransit across the country, there was always some relationship to a transit. So people are going to be confused about what Scout is unless there is a large marketing campaign.
Right.
And I was told that they've done the analysis. Not trying to second guess people. I was told the data was there. I was just trying to see it. I have not seen it, and I guess we'll see it after we approve it.
Well, for what it's worth, I came up with Seminole County's outstanding unobstructed transit.
I like the other one.
Throw the word affordable in there, maybe.
So mine was Seminole County, we're out.
So you go one step further, you could say Seminole County's out of cash.
Honestly, Lakeland has Squeeze. That's their microtransit. So, we could be Squirt. I don't know.
Let's not do that.
No.
So, Chairman, at the risk of this devolving
This
further.
is why commissioners shouldn't name.
This is why we
need a
This is why we
motion.
shouldn't do this.
Help me, I need a motion.
The person with the marketing degree moves to approve item number 6.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
4-1. DeLaurie is the lone out. And I would just ask if there's anything that you can help Commissioner DeLaurie with, any information he may need.
Absolutely.
Just share with all of us. We appreciate it very much. Commissioner Lockhart, item 13.
Yeah. I don't know if staff wants to explain what this item is prior to my asking my questions. That might make more sense
Sure.
to those who are watching.
Sure, if we can have staff come up. Mr. Alan Harris.
Hello, for the record, Alan Harris, Director of Emergency Management. Not sure how I can follow Squirt, but this is an interlocal agreement between the City of Altamont Springs and Seminole County. We are currently doing private property and residential mitigation projects for the City of Altamont Springs. There are 9 properties that were in an interlocal agreement in 2023. That we agreed to help them on, and this is an interlocal that will, instead of doing it by mitigation grant
application or process. This will open it up to all FEMA grant applications. So any grant that a private property or residential elevation, demolition, buyout, erosion control, things like that, we would do the management of those, of the grant for those individuals. The way the Federal Emergency Management Agency, it does not allow private property and residential folks to apply directly to FEMA for mitigation programs. You have to apply through the local jurisdiction, what they call the agency having jurisdiction. And of course, that would be the city of Altamont Springs. It's their permitting thing. They had requested that we assist with that. So that's why we did the interlocal in 2023. And that's why we bring the interlocal here today.
So a couple of my questions that I had, and Ms. Borkert was incredibly helpful as well from the attorney's office in helping to answer some of these questions. So I just, apparently 2 of our cities contract with private companies to do this work for them. The remaining cities have this, they do this in-house. I completely supported having done this for those 9 at that time. I see this a little bit like we looked at our lake management program and offering the services to the city of Lake Mary when they came forward and said, we want to be able to utilize your lake management team. You all are excellent at this. This is something that you are familiar with. We'd rather contract with you than stand up our own lake management program. Makes complete sense, saves taxpayer money. You know, why reinvent the wheel? My concern about this is, will we be giving one city a special treatment, if you will, over the other cities? If I am one of the 2 other cities that is currently contracting with an outside vendor and paying for this service, I'm going to probably say, Seminole County, why aren't you doing this for me? Fine. But now we're doing 3 cities. And so with there not being a cap in this agreement, I would prefer if we looked at this more as a pilot and an interlocal like we addressed our lake management program, so that we could be consistent and equitable across all 7 cities and make sure that we are prepared for what we might have to deal with in terms of workload. I don't see in this agreement how we can manage that very well. So I'm throwing it, not saying that we don't want to partner, not saying that we don't want to offer our services, but I'm a little concerned that this is not allowing equitable treatment across all 7 cities.
I inquired to the county manager. You have reached out to the other cities, is my understanding, and they had no interest?
Well, no, I have not asked them about that. We reached out to the other cities to see how they're doing it, and they're all handling it either in-house or by a contractor.
Okay. And the contract terms, Madam Attorney, are for out clauses?
Sure. So the term of the agreement is 3 years with 1 year automatic renewals. There's a 60-day written termination for no cause for anything. That means we could terminate the agreement. However, any grants that are in process that we're either processing or actually that have been given funding would have to be closed out. We would continue to handle those, but we wouldn't take on any more new grant processing requests.
Great.
And there's also, if I just may add, it's a first come, first served basis. So any grants coming, any requests for processing of grants that come in between unincorporated residents and municipal residents would be taken in a first come, first served basis. There is no cap. There is language that states that the county in its sole discretion will determine how many grant administration requests it can process per year based on staffing limitations, budgetary concerns, and any other issues that may come up.
Thank you. Commissioner Lockhart?
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had to hire or dedicate 1 full FTE to what we're currently doing for Altamont. Is that correct?
Yes, we used one existing resource that we have. We didn't hire a separate, a new position, but we utilized a position, we transferred a position internally to handle this.
To do this.
Correct.
So I guess the question to the county manager and to the board from a policy perspective is, how many FTEs do we want to allocate to this if there is, we say that there is, if we say that we can determine what our load is, what are we determining our load is? Are we willing to add an additional FTE? There's just no cap.
Well, in fairness, so that I fully understand, because several of these properties in my district, one of which was just handled. So is that same FTE working on the county stuff as well as the city's items? Or are you telling me we have so many in the county and so many in the city, we have the one that's solely working on city and one solely working on county?
With 9 grant applications, you would need almost 1 FTE.
To handle them
That's
all?
what we did in 2023.
Okay, yeah.
So we've done this in 2023, correct?
Yeah, currently we have a grant, we have a interlocal with the city of Altamont Springs for those projects. Does he do other things? Of course he does other things.
Of course.
I mean, when there's a disaster, he's in our logistics office. He does preparedness events. He was just the Paws in the Park, or not Paws in the Park, Parks Are Poppin'. So yes, we all do things.
Right,
So
right.
yes.
Yeah, and I don't suspect, notwithstanding crazy disasters, that this is going to be an annual occurrence.
I
Yes, yeah.
pray we don't get hit by a hurricane
Right.
this year.
Well, hurricane that rises to the level of.
Right.
It will bring more applications.
Right.
And, Mr. Chairman, and as speaking with all of you, and Mr. Harris and Ms. Johnson, we've all discussed this at length as well, is that we just don't know what the impact will be. And so what my thought was, and I talked to Mr. Harris about this, is that we could bring something back in 6 months or on an annual basis to see what the impact is, or if the resources that we have are allocated and we cannot do anything else before we take that next step, I could come back to the board and share that with the board and get your approval or how you would like the county to move forward on this
Well, I
type
mean, I
of
think
agreement.
that's beautiful because both sides have a 60-day out.
Right.
Regardless.
Correct.
Commissioner Herr.
Do the grants bring with them an administrative component?
Yes.
Yes, there is an M&A and management and administration, and it's a percentage of, it's not enough to cover it, but it certainly
gonna be my
helps.
next
It certainly
question.
helps, and we would retain that, of course, for,
As I see the agreement, there's no opportunity to recover expenses associated with a specific city at this point.
Correct.
And so we do sit up here very often and talk about the fact that the cities need to pay their own fair share. Don't panic back there. Don't panic, Frank, don't panic. So I think it's a legitimate question in terms of where we go with this for the future, because I think that was the question of what does the future hold if all 7 jump in and what are we doing? So I think the plan that you brought forward of we need to figure this out, we've been doing this, we should keep doing this, but we need to figure out where this goes and how we do it. And then we probably need to know what the gap is, which I would imagine is driven by the value of the grant, and each one is going to be different, et cetera. Some of the property values are lower than others. That's number one. Number two is, I think we need to make sure that we are not doing a disservice to county residents because they come in, they're in the order of operation, so if we can only handle, I'm going to make numbers up, 10 grants in a year, and 10 Altamont Springs residents apply first, then the districts outside of that area are potentially disadvantaged. So there's a lot of work that does need to be done on this. Wouldn't prevent me from moving forward on this item, but a really worthy discussion.
And I would say on that discussion, that it would probably be a pretty robust discussion, understanding exactly what you're saying, but the residents of the cities are paying county taxes
Understood.
as well.
I understand.
So to argue to Mrs. Smith, who lives in Altamont Springs, that she should be behind Mrs. Brown, who lives in District 2 of unincorporated Seminole County, is a pretty tough argument to have.
For the record, that is absolutely not what I was suggesting. What I was suggesting is that mitigation needs to happen before the next storm hits these people, regardless of where they live, and that we need to be resourcing it to the degree that that can happen in a timely manner. And working through these grants is difficult. It's extremely difficult, and it doesn't stop because we didn't have a hurricane. They're still working through grants probably from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
That's correct.
So
That's right.
the tail on these is pretty long as well.
That's right.
It requires attention, but never did I suggest that an Altamont Springs resident didn't deserve as much attention from us as anybody else.
No, that was not my suggestion. My
Or to
suggestion,
sit
that was the
behind.
argument that you would ultimately end up with, if that was our decision to go there. Mr. Constantine?
Well, that was my point exactly. As a Seminole County resident and an Altamont Springs resident, I'm paying both county taxes and city taxes. I've heard very clearly from our attorney that, we are controlling the workload. And I've heard from the county manager that we are controlling the workload. So if this becomes a problem, which I don't think it will, but if it does become a problem, that he can bring it back to us with other recommendations in working with the city or cities or however this works out. But yeah, Commissioner Zimbauer, you've already said it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But the point is that, as I'm paying the same taxes in the county as anybody else, whether they're a non-resident or if they're a resident of the city or not a resident of the city. So I think I deserve the same treatment.
And vice versa. The
And
county
vice
folks
versa.
deserve the same treatment. That was the point.
Commissioner Lockhart and then Commissioner Delary.
Well, I was ready to make a motion with a caveat.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to repeat all that was said, but they're all good points, and they are the same. There are citizens as well as Altamont citizens. But I also look at it this way, where if you're looking at what's cost-effective, it'd be better to have one person centralized doing the work so that they understand how the grant works and that it's consistent, instead of having multiple individuals across the county doing individual work where there's a redundancy or duplication of work. By having one centralized location, which is the county, it can be done effectively and efficiently, and it should be done within that cost that's prohibited. That is acceptable, not prohibited, acceptable, so that we can actually do this cost effectively. And I have no problem moving forward with it, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lockhart?
So I would like to make a motion that the board approve and authorize the chairman to execute the interlocal agreement between Seminole County and the City of Altamont Springs for oversight of Federal Emergency Management Agency private property mitigation programs, and that the county manager bring back to us annually the costs associated and the number of grants that are being monitored outside of the county.
Second.
Motion second.
I can keep talking.
Any further?
I'll add more words.
Mr. Harris, are you okay with that language?
absolutely.
It doesn't bother your wheelhouse much?
This is what we do.
We're good.
Darren, you're good?
Good, yes.
Okay. Any further comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, carries unanimous. Thank you all very much. All right, that ends our consent agenda. We're going to take a quick 10-minute before we work into the budget work session. And for those that are here to speak on anything with the budget work session, we are going to go through all of our departments and let them give presentations. We'll take public comment at the end of all the presentations today when we get to the trim notice information. So we'll be in recess for 10 minutes. welcome back, everyone. If you would make your ways back to your seats. And again, I would remind you, if you have a cell phone or other electronic device, please make sure it's in the silent mode so we don't interrupt the presenters today. And again, just a reminder, if you're here from the public or wanting to speak on any of the budget items, please make notes during the budget presentation as each department gives us their presentation. If you have specific questions, we're going to open up for public comment at the end of the budget session, work session today. So jot all those down that you may have a question, and we'll make sure that staff is prepared to answer that. So with that, we're going to go to Public Works, Mr. John Slott, but we're going to go to Mr. Darren Gray first to open up the budget work session. Mr. Gray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, and good morning. So today is the final scheduled budget workshop for our proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26. I want to thank you again for your continued focus and the tough conversations that has brought us to this point. Today's presentations continue to provide a countywide view of our proposed fiscal year 26 budget and how we are managing significant challenges, including inflation and unfunded mandates, while staying focused on our solutions. Again, I want to thank you for your leadership for helping us move through this process with a shared commitment to serving our residents and our business owners of Seminole County. So now I'll just turn it over to our Budget Director, Mr. Tim Jex.
Thank you, County Manager. My name is Tim Jex, Director of the Office of Management and Budget.
But if you could pull that mic closer, Tim, it's hard to hear you.
Sure, I'll speak directly into the mic. Up first is the Public Works Department, which is led by Director John Slott. The total department budget is $49.1 million. The department has 173 FTEs and proposing to reduce 3 FTEs for a total of 170 in the FY26 budget. 51% of their funding comes from our Transportation Trust Fund, which supports road maintenance, traffic control, and our engineering divisions. 48% is from our Sales Tax Fund, which is dedicated to infrastructure projects on the county's road, bridge, and drainage systems. None of the county's ad valorem or gas tax revenues is used for this infrastructure. The total budget is reducing 19.9% or $12.1 million from FY25 to FY26. This is primarily due to planned fluctuations in the capital program, where the department will focus on completing current third-gen sales tax projects and maintain our capital maintenance programs. In the FY26 proposed CIP budget of $23 million, we have money for road resurfacing, mast arm replacements, drainage, pipe repairs, and other capital maintenance. The $1.3 million in FY25 shown under the grants category was a FEMA grant to help mitigate future disasters, and we anticipate a potential reduction in this type of federal funding moving forward. This slide shows the department's base operating budget. You can see a reduction of $627,000 or 9%. I wanted to present an alternate slide because, as you recall, the county has a seminal moment where we are looking to improve energy efficiency through centralizing electricity management and budgeting. So in FY26, we're moving $506,000 of utility budgets from Public Works to facilities. And this slide shows that excluding that transfer of budget, the Public Works operating budget has been reduced by $121,000. This slide shows the department's third-gen referendum sales tax projects. We have a total of $179 million in FY25 in approved projects. As of July 17th of this month, the total actual expenditures are $36 million, and they have an additional $52 million encumbered in work orders issued to vendors. This is where the engineering division will be focusing their attention in fiscal 26, and you can see that approximately half of the funds have been fully expended or are encumbered. And with that, I'll turn it over to John Slott.
Thank you, Tim. For the record, John Slott, Director of Public Works. So thank you, Darren and Board of County Commissioners. I'd like to inform you of the organizational structure of the Public Works team and then walk through several updates for you from the budget. So first off, as you know, we manage the capital projects delivery within Public Works. We also have the engineering support team, the roads and stormwater team, and the traffic engineering team. I'm surrounded by those leaders in those different teams. So Mr. Tony Nelson, our county engineer, heads up the engineering team. Mr. Owen Reagan, our county stormwater engineer, heads up the roads and stormwater. And Mr. Charlie Wetzel, our county transportation or traffic engineer, is our division manager for traffic engineering as well. We are also supported by Marie Lackey, and we have a slide dedicated to Marie's exploits here in a little bit, and I think it needs no other description other than Marie gets things done. So as to Darren's point about seminal moments, this team has answered the call. I know this budget was my first budget here at the county, so I thought it was a little peculiar when I went into Tim's office, and the heat was a little bit higher than the rest of the building, and there were these floodlights that also he had poured on us. So after a very diligent group of conversations, we've come up with several seminal moments. So the first one was really an optimization, so going with contracted services for sidewalk repair. We were able to, and Owen and Matt Phillips in the roads and stormwater team were able to reduce the amount of costs that we spend on things like sand and rock and Portland cement, so therefore $150,000 worth of annual savings. On the mowing contract, as this board knows, we have our rural mowing program. That's 8 mowings a year with 5 edgings is usually what we're hitting those different areas with. And Owen and his team has been able to realign that service without impacting the mission of the county and save another $170,000 per year. And then finally, Charlie and his direct, Steve Douglas, have been able to look at how we actually put together our cabinets. If we bought fully configured cabinets from the market, it would cost us $63,000 more a year. Within Charlie and Steve's teams, we have some really dedicated, very technically savvy people, and they're able to do those configurations themselves and thereby save us quite a bit of money. So we buy the components and we build it and configure it. So, and then of course, Chad Wilski and the fleet and utilities team has been working diligently with us to do things that reduce our overall fleet costs. As we step into the budget highlights, we wanted to focus on the plans first, right? So we've come to the board several times, and we've talked about the 2050 Seminole County Mobility and Transportation Plan that will be on the docket to be completed by December 25 with hopefully your review and authorization in early 26. So that will develop the list of projects for transportation for the county and have that updated on an every 5-year notice. It also synchronizes our plan here at Seminole County with the regional metro plan planning cycles. So we'll now be in step with the region as well. And of course, the associated funding of said projects. The next one is basically the basin studies. As this board knows, we took an approach on the basin studies that was sort of a big bang approach. There are 16 basins. The team took on 13 basins all at one time and diligently been working through those. So over the course of the fall and into the winter, we will be bringing back those basins to the board for your review and comment on all of those mitigated projects and finalize this big bang approach. Going forward, we've learned a lot from that approach, and we really don't want to do it again. So we intend to build an approach, and we're working with some of our consulting partners to annualize that and just keep the basins and all their models and updates done throughout the year, so we were always on from a standpoint of our basin analysis, and therefore support our community, development review, of course the developers that are interested in Seminole County, as well as our residents. On the budget highlights, so this is affectionately the Marie Lackey slide. Really, this is all the hard work that Marie drives for the county, and we thank her very much for it. So if you look at this, there's 3 significant grant programs that Marie, with her leadership, drives. We have what you all know as the HMGP grants. That's usually a 75-25 split, but if Marie and the team does a good job, we can get up to 90%. So a 90-10% kind of juggle there. You see a few projects that we've listed as well, Hillview being one of them and so on. The resiliency grants, that's a state program that Marie also supports and moves that forward. And we also have then finally the what we call the NRCS grants, the National Resource Conservation Grant Program. That's actually by USDA. So it's a historic program and really helps us with waterway debris removal. And a few examples of that are here. There are actually 8 locations in this study, plus 2 more in development. Finally, we wanted to highlight something that at this board's direction and of course, at the direction of our county manager, Darren Gray, the team on the storm and roads and stormwater team jumped in right after the hurricane. So I think one of the things, as we've heard from our public safety leaders, both the sheriff and the fire chief, public safety requires a road to get to those people. So our roads and stormwater team is the first push. They get the debris out. They're there in the storms. They're there after the storms. They're there after the after storm. So during the tornado, at your direction, this team jumped at it and moved, as you can see, 488 dump truck loads of debris out of that community immediately as we got the contracts ready to have an external vendor finish that off. So with this team, we have a flexibility and a capability to be able to really act quickly and therefore meet the emergency management requirement. And I'd like to thank everybody for driving that. So as we step here, we at the retreat in the spring, we gave the board a quick video of a dashboard, and with a little bit of grace that said, please give us a little time to get the data right and work with the teams and make sure that we're getting this right the first time. So we're getting closer. Today we want to show you the actual live dashboard. And Jeremiah is going to do his IT magic and move us through this thing. But the intent here is really to show you the dashboard is real. It's not just a video. We will be sending it out to your offices for you all to play with and give us some feedback, understand, with the goal of later this year rolling this out to the public through our website, of course, as well to this office. And the commitment from the Public Works team is that we'll keep the data updated so that this can be a first place to go look and find the information on the different projects we're working on. So these are in-progress projects. You can see there's 67 listed. We'll step over to the first one we're going to look at is a construction project. As you're all aware, the Nebraska Avenue project was a drainage project. You can see in the middle there's a map that shows the actual location where we're working. On the right-hand panel, it has the description of the project. It also says what phase it's in. It'll also tell you the phase construction. In this case, it's about 22%. When that phase is intended to be completed, so that's our best estimate at this time. So by the end of the year, we should have Nebraska Avenue done. And then how was it funded? So in this case, it was 1 penny sales tax and grants that funded this project. And then finally at the bottom, for our own internal teams, we're carrying the J.D. Edwards numbers so that if anybody ever asks us which projects are associated, our finance teams can go find that information. Finally, let's go over to the design project. So we have major design projects going on throughout the county. So this is our Slavia Road project. As the board is aware, we are currently in design. We're getting really, really close. A couple meetings ago, we came to you and thank you for your approval for the wetland mitigation credits that are associated with this project. And the intent here, of course, is the public and yourselves and your staff will be able to look at this dashboard and find out what's going on in all the projects. So we want to step through some of the pull downs as well here real quickly. So under project types, so if you're looking for different types of projects, say drainage projects, you can see, okay, here's a list of the 19 drainage projects that are currently operating, 59 million, and your staff could click through and find out what was going on in each of those. Let's step over to the project phase. Okay. And then projects in construction, so you can see here are all the projects that we're currently operating and working on, and where they stand, and what types of projects. So you can see there's 5 drainage, 6 transportation, and 5 safety projects as well. Okay, let's step over. And by the way, this didn't go as well as this when we did the walkthrough with Jeremiah. So thank you, Jeremiah. It looks like Murphy has stayed out of this particular presentation, thank God. All right, so we're going to look at Judius's work. So if you are, for our team, of course, Tony and his leadership, Dino, Ted Holmes, they can look at each of their project managers. What are you working on? What is your status? So on. And then, of course, sometimes our community knows our team. So, hey, let me see what Judius is up to, and they call Judius. And then finally, from a district perspective, each district commissioner, you can now see those projects associated to your districts, as well as any projects of county-wide. So we have several projects, of course, that cross the boundaries of each district, some 2, some 3, some more. So the intent is it's either uniquely in your district or it is in county-wide. So that's how have done that separation. So that's the whiz-bang of the presentation. So back to our, thank you, Jeremiah, for that. Project challenges or budget challenges and priorities. I think we heard from the board's economic and investment advisor about inflation. We are seeing inflationary pressures within the construction costs that have been associated with some of the new projects that have kicked off. Most notably, early was the Oxford Road sidewalk project. So we had a very early adjustment to material list on that one. We're seeing, of course, increased competition for these limited grant opportunities. So we'll keep an eye on those, but Marie and the team are looking at that, as well as George Woodring and our grants team. So we are working still on that build grant that the board gave us authorization to go apply for. So we may have some news on that coming soon. As Tim has articulated, our first focus, of course, is on the capital maintenance. So as you saw in the budget, we're holding just under $24 million for those capital maintenance activities to keep all the things that we have invested in as Seminole County up to the standards you wish. The second is really focusing on that master plan to get the list of projects from a transportation perspective, the 2050. And then finally, being prepared for a future work session on the 4th generation sales tax and your priorities as a board on how you would like us to move forward on that. With that, I'd like to thank again our Public Works team. As you can see behind me, it takes a village. I'd like to also thank our finance team, working with, of course, Tim and Sarah Carrick. We have Lori Morgan, Nuri Gibbs, and we have someone who's retiring very soon. So Lori Hayes Coleman is leaving us to go figure out what you do when you retire. But we have appreciated all 3 of our finance executives and leaders and how they've been able to pull this budget together for us. So much appreciated. And with that, we would close the Public Works.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Slott. Any questions for Mr. Slott?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner DeLarge.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Slott. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the major road projects that we have? Because I know that you and I and your staff met with MetroPlan, and there's an disproportional share of...
Commissioner, I don't know that we want to get into that. This is more of a budget.
I understand, but it's going to affect the budget.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not going to be asking project-specific, but I just want to make sure that we are going and trying to alleviate the proportional share of those projects, because I don't really see major projects happening over the next couple of years through the Metro Plan. And I know that there needs to be more focus on that. The other piece about it is, I know you talked about the dashboard, which is great. Metro Plan has a dashboard too, with the scenarios, and we need to be looking at how the projects actually work through the different scenarios and the scenario categories that we have at Metro Plan. I know you know about this as well. And because in order to get ranked on projects, you need to be high on that scenario list. And we did talk about the 2014 sales tax. There's still money in the 1991 sales tax, about $15 million, and in 2001, there's another $8 million. Can you tell us how you plan on spending that down? Or is there any project specifics for that? I know you talked about the 2014, but we haven't talked about that, or some of the impact fees that have sunsetted, that we still have about another $2 million in that. And I know that's all budget related.
Yes, sir. So starting with the first part, the proportional share for where the commissioner is going. So we have taken a new focus on how Metro Plan allocates their LAP funding, state and federal funding, through to the counties. So we did an analysis of the last 12 years with the Metro Plan team and saw that we, Seminole County, were receiving roughly half of what the other counties were receiving from the LAP program. So as this board knows, the LAP program does require certain steps to be done. So it's not necessarily a fast way to do things, but it is a way to leverage other funds and to be able to extend the use of the one-penny sales tax as well as any other county funds. So at the direction of the county manager, we are moving forward to take an approach on how to increase our share. So we will be coming back to you, and as Commissioner DeLaury is the current chair of Metro Plan, and thank you, Commissioner DeLaury, he has agreed, and I think Commissioner Constantine also sits on that board, have both supported us to say, how can we help improve the county's ability to garner those funds? Full disclosure, as the Commissioner DeLaury just mentioned, those funds are going down a little bit. So we're trying to figure out how do we manage it down and how do we make sure it's also fair share. So look for us to come back to you with more details on this approach and way forward as well. That's part of the 2050 MTP initiative, is how do we use what we quote unquote call leverage funds. So those are those funds from other areas. The second point is, of course, as the Commissioner stated, the Metro Plan approach uses scenarios, and the scenarios have categories, and the categories are things like safety and other items. Those categories are weighted, so consider it basically you put your project in, they turn the magic wheel, and a priority list comes out. And so you put your project in again, you turn the magic wheel, and so on. The weightings and the criteria are defined by the Metro Plan Board, and we are attempting to be better at that. So we need to learn, number one, learn the approach, understand the criteria, and then actually set up our projects for success. So what are the projects, and what we've talked about internally within Public Works is what projects do we want to quote-unquote federalize? So as this board knows, we do enjoy with the one penny the ability to move projects quickly. We can move very fast because we have the funds to support quite a bit of those projects. Using this, we have to sort of strategically pick those projects that we're okay with it going a little slower to get the benefit of the additional funds from other sources. So this, how do we do the federalization? And we do have regional partners that have figured that out, and we're talking to them. So, and I think we know who figured it out, so we'll go from there. The last point is the use of prior tax referendum. monies. So as this board is aware, there are several projects that are multi-decade projects, to be candid. One of those projects, as we know, Oxford Road is using 1 penny money still. And there's been one that just finished, Wymore Road, was also a 1 penny project. So these projects represent almost generational projects, long or length, that have utilized those funds. So as we work with the board and at the direction of the county manager, we'll highlight how we're utilizing those funds, and I think this board referred to them prior as leveraged funds. So as you see us talk about leveraged funds, we will endeavor to make sure that you know which part of the leverage we're using that's non-county related. So, and there's a little bit of making sure we know the history, and I can tell you that Joni wakes up in the morning, every morning, and can recite the history from the beginning, and she's still 28. So I don't know how she does it, but she does.
And I'll just add one thing on that real quick, is those projects for the commission, for those past generation projects, those are what we call litigation projects. That's why a lot of those cannot be spent as we go through litigation on those.
Well, thank you. You know, I want to make the point, because I've asked this question, I don't know, at least 5 dozen times since I've gotten here. And then it's one of those ask but verify. So to be clear and some clarity to the public, is $15 million sitting in the 1991 sales tax fund that you can take it and go spend it on something that's not already allocated for?
No.
Okay, it's an accounting of the monies there, correct?
Yes.
It's encumbered.
Yes.
It's dedicated to an existing project, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want to make sure the public is clear. There is not $15 million of excess money just sitting there, not being utilized. And I think you summed it up. Some of these projects are multi-decade projects. So if in 1994, we encumbered on the 1 cent sales tax from 1991, a project that was going to cost, let's say, $150 million, you did 25 million of it maybe in the 90s, maybe 25 million of it in the 2000s. Maybe you had to wait for environmental studies and all that kind of stuff. Here we are. So I want to be clear, I want to make sure I get the right answer for the public's benefit. There's not excess money laying in the infrastructure sales tax fund, whether it's the first generation or second generation, that's not already encumbered for a project. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Constantine.
John, I just want to thank you and your staff, because I have seen just an uptick in solid communications over the last year or two, and I greatly appreciate it. I get answers and clear and and responses as to what we can and can't do, and that's to all of your staff. Second thing is I want to say is what I heard in this budget request is reduction. I heard reduction, ladies and gentlemen. 3 people, 3 employees, that's what an FFTE is, and a reduction in the cost, which I might add, in the 33% that we control, not the constitutionals, we control, you will see that as a pattern of reduction or slight increase that it doesn't even match the cost of living. Thank you.
Commissioner Lockhart.
Thank you and your team so much. I'm going to give Commissioner Hurt all the credit for the dashboard. The word dashboard has become an inside joke around this organization for a number of years, and we're seeing them happening, and I think it's going to open up a whole new world of transparency for our citizens, not because the information wasn't available to them, but because it was harder to find, and this is going to put it at everyone's fingertips in the blink of an eye, and I think that's one of the things that I'm continuing to hear repeatedly is, well, where is the the project? How long is it going to be? What phase is it in? I mean, we all hear that all the time. So thank you so much for doing that and seeing that to completion. I think that one of the things that you hit on that really touched, aside from all of the, the traffic stuff that you all do. Traffic stuff. No one likes to invest in asphalt, right? Like, that is just not, no one loves to see more asphalt being poured. However, you do. Dilawri does. Dilawri loves asphalt. Send your asphalt emails to Dilawri. The thing that I learned as an employee here many, many years ago is that Public Works is emergency management. You are. You have a different title, but as you said, and I'm just restating it in case no one heard it, fire trucks can't go down streets that are flooded or that trees are laying across. Sheriff's deputies can't get through and get to people who need assistance in the middle of a storm if they can't get down the road. So you are a significant part of that team. You are the first people in that team. When waters are rising and they're not going down the storm drain, and I'm getting calls from constituents in the middle of a hurricane, literally in the middle of a hurricane, that they see the water rising and they're panicking, I can call that lady sitting on that front row right there and know that anybody from that team will respond accurately, quickly, as soon as possible in order to get the relief for that citizen. And that's just unheard of, I think, in any other community. So thank you for being the type of organization that I feel I can put my trust in, and that's huge. So thank you.
Commissioner Herr?
So you're our version of first responders, and I can speak to that not only during the hurricane when a resident in my district had water coming in through the out pipes, and your team responded to that amazingly, and saw it through months later, but during the tornado, the work that you did was amazing. That was a horrifying event in my district, and you were there, you saw it through to the end. I was informed. You all know I do this, but I was doing drive-bys to make sure that the information matched the actual reality. I'm a trust but verify girl, and so it was amazing work. With regard to the budget, congratulations, it is a good budget. I would like to get it on the record that we're not reducing the budget by delaying projects. Is that an accurate statement?
That is an accurate statement.
Okay. And then I can't avoid a conversation about a dashboard. They do warm my heart. I truly do believe that those things that are measured will improve. And to that end, I didn't see it. Now, in full disclosure, I don't necessarily confess that I can see either of these screens clearly. But we need metrics in there. Is it on budget and is it on time? Because that's what we all care about as well. And then when we start to manage that, and if it's not, let's tell why. It's not on time because we couldn't acquire right away or whatever. There's 1,000 reasons why something can't be on time or on budget. But let's be transparent about all of that as well. And great job. Thank you.
What else? I would just say that thank you very much. Great budget. You are the folks that respond when nobody else in the county can or can't. But this past year, I had an opportunity to work with some of your people out in the field doing sidewalk work. I actually got to pour some concrete and do some of those kinds of things. And I think some of your people were actually surprised I can work a shovel. But regardless of all that, if you have an opportunity to watch some of our people work and what they do, and they truly care. And I witnessed some of our employees on a sidewalk project say to me, well, Commissioner, we're going to be over here in this customer's front yard. I said, why are we in the customer's front yard? Well, when we were doing the sidewalk, we noticed that one of their sprinkler heads were broken. And we don't want to be blamed for it, so we keep extra sprinkler heads. We're going to go ahead and take care of it just in case. It took 5 minutes. They had, pieces on the on the truck to do it. That's what customer service is about, and being respectful of the customers right away and their easements and ingress, and not blocking that. So thank you for letting me come intrude with some of your employees this year. Although I will be honest, I enjoyed working the heavy equipment out at the landfill maybe a little better. But thank you all, good work. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, we have our our utilities, Mr. Johnny Edwards is up next. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You know,
I
Mr.
think
Chairman.
after the utilities, we'll try to take our break to the mid-afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I just have to say that, you know, they have these different seminars for that where, you know, big boys can go and play with toys.
Yeah, right.
And you just went ahead and played with the
That's
utility
right. Well, they got some
in
good
the road
toys.
instead of going to one of those seminars.
They got some nice equipment. You can, Commissioner Lockhart?
Sorry. Is there a specific time that you want to break by?
If we can get out of here by 12,
Okay, so we'll.
40 minutes?
So the more we can get through, the better, but 12
Yeah.
o'clock's the time you want to
Yeah,
break by.
if we can try to get
Okay.
out of here, Mr. Edwards, at 4,
Okay.
Let's get through.
Yeah.
at noon.
Yeah.
We might be
That good with y'all?
Yeah.
Up next is the Utilities Department. It's led by Director Johnny Edwards. Their total budget is $94.4 million, 100% funded through the Water and Sewer Fund, which supports utility operations and water sewer capital programs. They have 154.5 FTEs, and we're proposing to eliminate one position moving into next year. You can see from FY25 to FY26, the total budget is being reduced by $3.3 million. Their base budget is a 0.8% increase. That includes personnel and operating. If we focus just on the base operating budget excluding personnel, you can see that this budget absorbs inflationary increases and makes small reductions to chemical and maintenance budgets while maintaining fundamental services. And with that, I'll turn it over to Johnny.
All right. Thank you, Tim. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I am Johnny Edwards, the Utilities Department Director. With me, your leadership team in Utilities is Carrie Grind. She is our Utilities Business Office Division Manager. Behind her, we have Wanda Wilson, who's our Financial Manager. David Ornberg is our Utilities Engineering Division Manager, and Dallas Smith is our Utilities Operations Division Manager. When the county departments got together to talk about seminal moments geared at efficiency and cost effectiveness, one of the items that I talked about was our walk-in customer service center, which serves both utilities and solid waste, and is shown there. It looks kind of like a bank. But this, trying to look at modernizing and making more cost-effective and possibly improving the customer service that we get out of this unit. I've never seen a power company have a walk-in customer service center, and I know at least one large Central Florida water utility that does not. What we have is 10 customer service representatives that spend the majority of their day on the phone talking to customers, but that is the primary way in which they provide customer service is through the phone. In response to COVID several years ago, we learned very well how to do this from remote locations, provide customer service via the phone, and we have a service that provides management with metrics. How many calls do we get? How long does it take to answer a call? How long do we spend on the phone? What are the customer's issues? These are things that if we were to consider allowing on a rotation basis some of our customer service representatives to work from home and having a couple in the office, we could reduce the space demands in our customer service area. On the walk-in side, we actually average about 14 walk-ins a day. That's how many people come in. 12 of those are there to pay their water bill in cash. I'm confident that working with other county departments and possibly constitutional offices, there are other opportunities to allow customers to walk in and pay at points of sale their water bill with cash, credit to their water account. It doesn't have to be at a centralized utilities customer service center. So that would give customers actually more choices on where they can pay their water bill for the dwindling pool of folks that actually need to pay in cash. For us, I would look at, that freeing up poorly needed office space for us that we could utilize and not have to provide somewhere else to build or lease additional space. And as we talk to other county departments, organizational-wide, there are opportunities to maybe centralize customer service across all the county departments to have one centralized, one-stop shop for customer service. Another thing that we talked about, there's always a balance between work that we do with our staff versus work that we contract out among contractors and consultants. A couple of years ago, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection promulgated new Florida Administrative Code, which among the requirements mandated that sewer systems evaluate 25% minimum of their sewer system every 5 years. We're looking at a target of closer to 10%, just as a best management practice, so we know what we have. And we currently contract CCTV service through a contractor. We do have a county crew with equipment that is more response troubleshooting oriented. But if we were to, bring that in-house, hire our own crew, equip them, we could do that for roughly half the cost that we're paying the contractor with an annual savings of about $200,000. On to major projects. As the board knows, we've brought a few work sessions talking about our utilities master plan, which we will finish this year. We have a few more work sessions to go. The next one is scheduled for August 12th, so I believe the next time the board meets, we'll have an update focused on a couple very specific topics. Relocations and improvements with roadway and stormwater projects. We're working with Public Works on the Oxford Road improvements. The utility stake in that project is on the order of $10 million. A couple other projects, the improvements in the Rolling Hills area. We're working with Public Works and Parks on improvements in that area. And the widening of State Road 417. This is a project that the widening of the bridge over Redbug Lake Road is going to necessitate our having to move a water main. So that's a project that we have coming up in the very near future. Pump stations, these are sanitary sewer pump stations, the beating heart, if you will, of the sanitary sewer system. Our staff does preventive maintenance on about 350 pump stations throughout the system. When we have more extensive efforts, we'll group together pump stations and contract that out for a contractor to do more extensive rehabs on pump stations. Right now, with current and near-term projects, we have about $7 million allocated for that. When we have a large master pump station like Hampton Park Master, we'll break that out into an individual project, and Hampton Park is a project necessary, an upgrade for a pump station necessary to accommodate the Reagan Center and nearby development for increases in sewer flows in the area. We have a few other master pump stations that are slated for upgrades in the near term, totaling about $9 million. Program management. The board understands proactive investment in the utility to maintain the services, the critical services that we provide, and last year approved program management. This is a team of experts helping our staff with a variety of different things. One of those is to develop key performance indicators, how to defining and measuring key performance indicators, not only for operations, so that we can, show our successes and possibly hold ourselves accountable when improvement is needed, but also for our projects, as Commissioner Herr indicated earlier. Are we on time? Are we on budget with our projects? We want to demonstrate those numbers. Project execution, they're helping us clear out a backlog, if you will, of projects, and in some cases mentoring our younger, more inexperienced project managers with their projects. Emergency power generators, don't really need, I think, to explain what those are. When we have widespread power outages, usually resulting from the H word, which I'd prefer not to use, but I've heard it a few times today. Hurricanes. We have emergency backup power at our plants to help us to continue to provide water. We have them at our wastewater plants to continue to treat the wastewater at our pump stations, both stationary and portable emergency backup power. So we invest quite a bit of funds in maintaining and replacing as those generators age out. Our treatment plants, Greenwood Lakes, we'll talk about more specifically in the upcoming work session that I mentioned earlier. But the board did approve our applying for state revolving funds through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in response to Hurricane Milton. So we've applied for those funds and are waiting DEP's response to that, but considerable investment is needed at that plant. We'll also be talking about our surface water our plant, the Yankee Lake Water Reclamation Facility. And just for the record, water reclamation facility, a lot of people don't understand that is where we make reclaimed water out of wastewater. So that is a wastewater plant. That is what we mean by water reclamation facility. And we have several advanced water treatment plants as well that also need renewal and replacement to continue to provide services. Outside the plants, the distribution and collection system, we have several projects. Reinhardt Road force main valves and meter, this is a project that we have ongoing to enable us to redirect wastewater flow that is currently going to Greenwood Lakes up to Yankee Lake, where we have more capacity, particularly during a storm event. Highland Pines, we just are finishing up pipelining of gravity sewer and are going to implement soon the water distribution system portion of the project. Carillon water and sewer mains, these are pipelines that service mainly the Carillon area, and through a power easement, we need to re-drill a couple mains that have been exposed to minimize risk to those pipes. Couple budget highlights and challenges. I mentioned previously the Utilities Master Plan, where we will update the CIP, present that to the board, the projects that we need going forward for the utility. Our billing software, our antiquated billing software, is actually out on the street right now. We hope to get, we will get improved software to both improve the customer experience, the abilities, that they have for payment options for their water bills, but also give our staff better tools to analyze data related to water usage and billing. Everything, as you've heard before, everything is getting more expensive. So the construction on our projects, the equipment on the operation side, we have pressure from inflation. We buy power bills go up, we have to pay it. We buy services from other water and wastewater utilities, their rates go up, we have to pay it. Sodium hypochlorite, that is chlorine, that is a chemical that we use at all of our water and wastewater plants. The unit price for that has gone up over the last 4 years, 217%. Anybody in a swimming pool probably feels that, but we spend about $1 million a year on chlorine alone. Meter boxes have gone up over the same time frame, over 4 years, about 191%, and water meters themselves, almost 60%. So we look for efficiencies. We always look for efficiencies that we can control within the department and implement them. Dallas, in his short time with us, has identified trying to look at the materials and supplies that we warehouse, what we put on the vehicles for the field staff, the tools that we provide them, looking for ways to make that more efficient, reduce waste, and improve response time for our staff. We also have a new asset management system that we got in part in response to the aforementioned DEP rule change, but it's putting in our assets into the system so that management has better data, can make more informed decisions, and we know that cost efficiencies will result from that. I'd also like to take a look at the monitoring frequency for emergency for emerging contaminants, to use actual data that we have now to make more scientific-based decisions about how frequently we monitor for some of these compounds. And with that,
That concludes the utilities presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board?
I have a couple questions, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Delory?
Thank you. Johnny, I know we talked in the past about some of the lines that we've had in the field that has been broken by other agencies. We talked about recouping that. I have not seen anything in the line item of the budget that actually addresses that. Would we be seeing that at a future date?
So I don't know that that would be a line item in the budget necessarily. When we have a strike on one of our mains, and we know it's a contractor's fault, we can identify the responsible party, we work with risk management to file a claim. And I know we had a pretty large main break on 426 a few months ago. We have submitted the claim, and I believe recovered. At this time, we recovered the expenses for our labor, our materials.
Are we recovering 100% of it, or just a small percentage of it?
It's 100% of the claim amount.
All right.
Yes, sir.
The other conversation that you and I have had, and I know this deals with O&M, operation and maintenance, with the I&I ratings for both the system and the plant, which is the inflow and infiltration. I know this could probably be addressed in the master plan, but presently, how are we dealing with that? And are we dealing with it in the budget? Because that's how you judge your operation and maintenance of your system. That's one of the ways you do it.
Yeah, so we have implemented, last summer, we had a consultant come in and measure a little over a quarter of our system with flow meters to measure I&I. We got a report, a 900-page report just last week that we're sifting through to help us quantify and understand the scope of inflow and infiltration. And, we know, so we have programs in place, such as the CCTV that I mentioned before, but also smoke testing to find and fix the problems, but it also helps to understand, how much additional flow is going to the wastewater plants. So as you indicated, we will be looking at that in the master plan. We will. I've got several slides actually dedicated to that in our next work session with the board. So we will be talking about I&I in more depth. Absolutely.
Thank you, Johnny.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I don't see any further questions. We appreciate your diligence in making the efficiencies that you have. I think everybody's aware that it's important that all departments are looking at those efficiencies, and everything I've seen thus far shows that we are truly taking a hard look at that. I know it's sometimes tough to do more with less, but that's the place we find ourselves with at this point. So thank you very much for your due diligence in trying to find that, you and your staff. Thank you very much. What's the pleasure of the board? Ms. Ornberg?
Let's go.
Can you be done by noon, or do you need, let's go?
Ornberg can be done by.
She says that's up to us.
No, well, yeah,
I can
caveat.
read her mind from back there. That's entirely up to us.
We'll be quick.
Up next is the Environmental Services Department, led by Director Kim Ornberg. The department's total budget is $21.8 million. They have 105.7 FTEs with no changes going into FY26. 84% of the funding supports our landfill and transfer station in the solid waste fund. The general fund includes watershed management and mosquito control, and the water and sewer fund supports our water policy division. The base budget, you can see we have an increase of 1.2%. The non-base, we have an overall reduction of $3.4 million, or 13.3%. Most of the capital and fleet in the non-base section below are allocated towards our solid waste functions. If we focused on just the base operating budget, the largest reductions are in the solid waste fund, but this budget does include reductions in the general fund as well. This slide shows the current FY25 approved project budgets, totaling $23.4 million. This excludes an open emergency PO that's related to Hurricane Milton. This shows that approximately 70% of the FY25 approved capital program has either been expended or encumbered as of July 2025. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kim.
Good morning. Kim Ornberg, the Director of Environmental Services, and with me I have Carrie Grine, who serves dual duty as the finance person for both utilities and environmental services. And on my left I have Oliver Bond, who's our solid waste division manager, and I'm sure you've all heard he's a short timer with us, unfortunately. So
No, I had not heard that. Really?
He's moving back to England. So he's got some big shoes to fill, but we've got him for a few more months, so.
4 years. I told him 2027.
Yeah, right. I think Christian said 2027 was his last. But also with me, Shannon Wetzel's not here. She's on vacation, so like John Slott said, it takes a village. I have Thomas Calhoun, who's our Lake Management Program Manager, Teresa Jones, who's our Mosquito Control Program Manager, Joe Parrish, who is over Water Quality Program Manager, and Keely Carlton, who is over our Holistic Water Policy. So with that, Environmental Services, we, that's fine, we'll go. We're good. So our seminal moments, the things that we've been working on and developing as a result of that, some of this has been going on for some time. Recycling fees, we're looking at right-sizing the revenue. We are, historically, you all know that this had been a money-making, revenue-generating source of funding for solid waste, but over the past few years, it has become a cost. So we're looking at reviewing our current fees and revenues to set up operational sufficiency for this. Our current recycling tipping fee per our admin code is set to 0. Because of the historic revenue, it was really never thought of that would be a cost. So we're looking at that. Our current normal solid waste tipping fee right now is $41.63 a ton. So we're looking at how we can right-size that. And as I said, processing costs have increased and commodity revenues have decreased. Although we did see a little bit of a spike this year earlier with our commodity revenue, but that has since gone back to what it has been. So we'll be bringing this back in a few months to the board to talk through this during budget work, during a work session. One of the other items we've found savings on is the solid waste trailers. We had a pilot project last year. The trailers reached the end of their useful life, and instead of replacing it with a new one, we found a company that would refurbish it at half the cost and basically extend its life to, twice as long for half of that. So it was very successful. Fleet and facility, fleet staff and our staff both thought it was a worthwhile investment, and so we're expanding it this year. We expect to see about $200,000 in savings, and we're expanding it more next year to hopefully see over $300,000 in savings. We're also looking at modernizing all of our interlocal agreements kind of globally. We have them in solid waste. We have the interlocal agreements for, which includes the recycling with the cities, as well as ones in watershed management that are dealing with water quality that we've had in place. But we're updating them and all, making them more consistent and more easy to revise as we see cost increase, so we can appropriately cost share with our partners on these. We're also including in the water quality and watershed management interlocal agreement. We're expanding it to include also the holistic water policy and all of those components, including our conservation program. And so with that, we should see savings across the county and a global message and have a better response through all of those. Additionally, as I'd mentioned, we continue to share our customer service and financial staff, which is Carrie's group, with the Utilities Department, which has saved us additional FTEs, and they continue to do a great job for us. our highlights. So we completed the expansion of our citizens drop-off area out at the landfill this year, which doubled the size. The chairman was out there. It's a great project. It not only makes it easier and more appealing, but it's a safer environment for our residents to use out there at the landfill. We also replaced one of the flares at the landfill, and I don't know if you recall, that was agreed to as part of the renegotiated public-private partnership we have with NextEra that manages our gas-to-energy plant out at the landfill. And so actually this $800,000 project didn't cost us anything, so that was a win. And finally, our Little Wekiva restoration project that you all are aware that removed the sediments and vegetation along almost a mile of the Little Wekiva River and replanted it with over 30,000 native plants and trees on that section of river. And as a follow-up too, we just recently found out, thanks to Tricia, we got a $1.5 million legislative appropriation to help with the funding of the design and construction of a sedimentation basin upstream of the project to hopefully avoid having this again. And we have the preliminary design and feasibility study underway right now. And finally, one I did not include that I should have was our tipping floor refurbishment, which was long overdue and a great success this year. So also, as far as with our water policy and water conservation, you all I know are aware of the toilet rebate program, which we had 79 participants, which saved 30 gallons per day per toilet, which calculated out to over 865,000 gallons of water saved per year, which is little tiny bits, but they add up. And also, with the water policy and our enhanced water conservation, under holistic water policy, we really expanded the use of H2O Save, which I know many of you are very aware of, but this is a fantastic application that was developed by the University of Florida that we partner with, which actually shows high water use throughout our service areas and throughout the county. And so we can target our high water users. And at the time when we were putting these slides together, we had targeted 392, which I'm sure it's significantly more by now. It's more by now, but we can monitor this graph as an example from the application, but we can monitor their use, and we can see and track the reductions, and we're seeing an average of 250 gallons per day per household just by targeting them, to educate them, to help with setting their irrigation systems. And then we can monitor after the fact and see that we are still seeing these reductions. So based on those numbers alone, the 392, we have over 35 million gallons of water that we're saving every year, and almost a $500,000 savings that our customers are seeing. So this is a win-win for everyone. And this is an example of one of the things that we have already started talking to the cities about, to expand this program and help them to utilize it and expand our collaboration with them. And finally, our two master plans we're working on. The solid waste master plan, this has been going on for a little while, a couple of years, but we expanded the capital improvement projects and the fleet replacement, as well as staffing, to make it a more comprehensive document, which is wrapping up now, and we'll be bringing it back to present to you this fall. And finally, the Water Quality Master Plan, which was just initiated, and it will be a companion to the Public Works Basin Studies, where this focuses more on structural and non-structural water quality projects and programs that we could potentially implement to protect and enhance our natural systems. And that is expected to be finished up next fall. And then lastly, our budget challenges. We just wanted to point out that the solid waste fund reserves do not include countywide hurricane contingency. So it's a Our target is 180 days of operating costs, which is about $8 million. So, and finally, our mosquito control. It's a mighty program of about 10 people that do an amazing job across the entire county. And, but that is, we've seen an increase in chemical costs of at least 9% this past year, and I know it's significant over the last several years. But that's the reason that was the only base budget that we did not see flat or a reduction on. Service requests have increased 36% this year, and we went back and calculated, we've added 21,000 new addresses since 2018 with no additional staff. So it's a small and mighty team, but they're up for the challenge, and they do an amazing job. So with that, I'm finished.
Questions? Seeing none?
Mr. Chairman, I have just one quick question.
Commissioner Galari.
Kim, with the transfer station, I know budget session back, we talked about updating and replacing the fire suppression system in the transfer station. Has that happened yet? And if not, have we adjusted the budget to accommodate any new shortfalls or costs to the budget for that?
You said the fire system,
No,
sir?
the fire suppression system.
Yes, sir, that's something that we're working with facilities on, and that is in process, and there's funding from previous year for that.
So is there any, because there's going to be an increase, is that in this budget?
I think she just said it was previously funded.
True, but
There is no additional funding in this budget currently.
over time, the cost goes up, so I just want to make sure we're going to be addressing that somehow.
Yes.
I mean, that's just a fact.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah, and that project should be starting this year. We're in the final phases. We're working with facilities for office relocation for some of the work, things like that. So it's been a long process, but we
I'm not
expect to get
criticizing
there in
the
a few
process, I
years.
just want to make sure that we have enough money, or if there's anything allocated, because over each year, the cost of construction goes up, and I just want to make sure that we're addressing it, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, thank you all very much.
I just want to say dashboards.
They did.
Lots of stuff
I
in
just wanna
both of
say
your
holistic
areas
water
that are
policy.
dashboard ready. They're just ripe for dashboards.
On that note, we did work on a customer service dashboard for solid waste, identifying hot spots of where we see issues. We've been using that internally, and I think down the road, that may be something that
It's
would
magic.
become available for the public.
Thank you.
Holistic water policy, and I want everybody to remember another word that was said, again, by the 33% that we control in administration of county. Reduction. Reduction.
Commissioner Lockhart.
I think you have so many different parts of your department that are critical to different folks at different times. Last night, I heard the mosquito spray truck go down my street, and I could not have been happier. It was music to my ears. So kudos, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I, on the other hand, in my district, have come to understand that mosquitoes are just part of living in a rural area.
That's a choice we make.
Guys, just get bats like I have at my house. Just get bats. They're waiting in mosquitoes.
All right, Mrs. Brown, Lori Bailey Brown.
6 minutes till noon.
You got 6 minutes, Lori.
There's a song that goes with that.
These last two will be really quick.
6 minutes for
6
Lori.
minutes, 6 minutes. No? No other children of the 80s in the room?
Hate the 50s.
Up next is the Administrative Services Department, which is led by Director Lori Bailey Brown. The total department budget is $44.1 million. The department manages a wide range of services. The MSBU programs include lake management, solid waste pickup, and street lighting. Internal service funds include workers' compensation and property liability, where the county is self-insured. The 10% of the general fund supports purchasing in our county-wide print and mail services. There are 50.5 FTEs in the department, and we're proposing to reduce 2 FTEs for 48.5 moving into FY26. The overall budget does show an increase of 1.4%, or $623,000. We do anticipate that there will be a first public hearing adjustment to add grant funding before the budget is finally adopted. This slide shows the department's base operating budget, excluding the countywide self-insurance funds and MSBU's. All of these programs have a general fund impact, and you see we have a budget reduction of 2.5%, or $38,000. And with that, I'll turn it over to Lori.
Thank you, Tim. Hi, I'm Lori Bailey Brown, CFO and Administrative Services Director for Seminole County. I have with me my Deputy Director of Administrative Services, Stephen Kuntz. And I'll recognize our managers. We have some new ones. Robert Bradley, our purchasing manager, is here with us. Ryan Schweitzer is a financial business administrator for fire services. We have George Woodring with our grants management program, and Ralph Caravello, our risk manager. Shane couldn't be with us. He's our new real estate division manager. So with our org chart, we'll just go over administrative services. We've got a new name, more clearly defining what we do, which is really supporting all of the departments of the county as well as the constitutionals and any other assistance we can provide. The business office has those administrative business managers who assist in departments. We have our grants management program, which coordinates grants across countywide departments, ensuring that they are consistent and up to date with the latest processes. Our mail center and print shop, of course, delivers all of the interoffice mail throughout the county as well as incoming and outgoing. That's a team of 4 diehards who deliver their service every day. Our MSBU program, of course, assists the residents with their services they'd like to provide in their community. The biggest MSBU, of course, is our residential solid waste, so that assists environmental services. Purchasing and contracts, of course, is making sure that our process of procuring goods and services is transparent and consistent. Our new real estate division, I'm going to let Steve give you some highlights, budget highlights on our new division there. And of course, risk management handles our workers' comp and property liability self-insured programs. Good. I'll speak on our seminal moments. Included in our retreat discussions was the idea of urban wealth funds. It's a hot buzzword with the Government Finance Officers Association with their Putting Assets to Work program. They've had a few cohorts come through with local governments coming together with experts in the industry to identify assets that could be used to generate revenue. It's a great program, and I wanted to bring that to the board's attention during the budget work session. If you're interested in finding out more about those governments that are participating now and what they've been able to do, or finding out more about how we'd like to get involved, it's just an opportunity to work with what we've got and thinking about it in new ways, our assets. We also discussed AI for a call center, receiving calls, understanding residents' queries, and organizing those queries that could be answered with information that might already be available on the website, or understanding a group of questions that are coming through that could be answered with information that's pushed out. This is something that many counties are looking at doing to organize more the collection of information that comes through a call center. Now I will turn it over to Steve for some budget highlights.
All right, first thing, we'll talk a little bit about real estate. So again, we're setting up the new real estate division. We've got 4 positions plus a new real estate manager. And Shane has actually been appointed to the right-of-way committee for the Expressway Authority, so he's at training today for that. But we have set that up, and Shane and I both, being new to the real estate, we are getting up to speed with what the priorities are currently, including the Midway project, and trying to, new set of eyes looking at that and trying to get some of those issues wrapped up and out of the way so we can keep that project moving, including as well as we're looking at some of the other priorities, such as Orange Boulevard. And keeping those moving forward. Our next step will be meeting with Darren and looking at the long-range goals for the division and really understanding what the vision is for it and starting to move those things forward. Going to talk a little bit about we have reduced a few positions within the division. Again, we did have a decrease in our general fund budget, so we reduced a part-time position in purchasing and contracts and one in the MSBU program. And then I also want to highlight a few other things that have happened over the course of the last year. First of all, purchasing and contracts, we've had a little bit of change. I was in the manager position, and then Robert has moved into that position, but we've had a lot going on. We had the purchasing policy and ordinances updated last fall. We've done some very specialized and complicated solicitations over the last year, including microtransit, which we talked about earlier. That was very unique, and it was actually a challenge, but it was very interesting from a procurement standpoint. And then we've done 5 construction manager at risk solicitations, including Rosenwald, CJC, fire stations, On Call, and Rolling Hills. So we've moved those into the next phase where facilities, parks, and public works are working through those as far as working with those contractors and putting those GMPs together. So those will be things that you'll be seeing in the future. We also, the grant management program has also revised their grant management policy, which introduced a grant manual with countywide procedures for application and execution, management and closure of county grants. And the program has been training on the countywide procedures with the departments. And with that,
That concludes our presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions? I do want to tell you that I'm surprised you didn't bring up the $3.3 million that you saved our taxpayers by identifying that one of the bonds needed to be refinanced early. That saved the taxpayers $3.3 million. So thank you and Tim very much for working that through. Good stuff.
Thank you.
And the fact you've cut your budget. Good work. Thank you very much.
Yes, awesome.
Good stuff. All right. Let's go ahead and break until 1:30. We'll come back. Mr. Jex will be up. Enjoy your lunch. We'll be in recess till 1:30.